Surprise, we're back. What's up, Black Comic Lords? Kind of a pop-up show tonight. We have a Black comic creator who is very special. This young man I noticed a few years ago. He started releasing art over social media, doing pictures of various Black superheroes. Dope stuff. Dope stuff. I remember actually tagging Marvel and DC on some of the art that he was doing, saying, why don't you guys hire somebody who's talented like this? How does this man not have a job with y'all doing covers? It's insane. Eventually, he did get some cover work, even with DC for Black History Month. Connection? I don't know. It doesn't matter. He's dope. His name is Jay Hero. Jay's an award-winning illustrator, graphic designer, and writer with a passion for creativity, fiction, and social change. He's the founder of Hero Nation, a creative studio that champions Black and other diverse voices through fiction. He's a 2024 awardee of the ARC Fund grant, and his works have been featured by clients such as Netflix, DC Comics, Image, Honor Press, and more. And now Jay has a new project, self-published project, that he has on Kickstarter called Star Wielder. And he's here to talk to us about it. This is a brother we should all be supporting. Without further ado, it's Jay Hero.
Hey, y'all. How you
What's
doing?
going on, man?
How you doing?
I'm so happy you joined us. Thank you for being here.
I'm glad to be here. Very honored. Appreciate it.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself before we get started? How did you get into comics?
Of course. Yeah. So my name is Jay Hero. I am an award-winning illustrator. I'm a writer. I am a brand strategist and a brand identity designer. So I have my education with the BFA in graphic design. Always been a creative, always been an artist, always been into superheroes, into comic books ever since I was growing up. And so I think the biggest aspect of that is what got me into superheroes was Superman. But what allowed me to stay was this idea that, wow, these characters can inspire positive change in the world. And that's what I wanted to do as a child, growing up. That's still what I want to do, be a force for good. And I think that's what I align my purpose and who I am as a person with, or try to. And so that's who I am.
I love what you said there about how comics inspired you and how you're using comics as a means of inspiration for others.
Yeah.
Why don't you talk to us about what makes this particular book that you've got going on now, Star Wielder, so special?
Yeah, so to give the spiel, so I'm creating a story called Star Wielder. It originally started as a graphic novel, but now it's turned into a comic series because I found that it was much more laborious doing a graphic novel than just breaking it up into episodic, ventures. And so for me, I was inspired by my journey personally dealing with depression and anxiety and shadow work, but also having experiences, for example, with dealing with things like suicidal ideation or just being a Black queer man in society facing all kinds of hardships and knowing what it's like to be able to turn our pain into power. And that gets into the theme of the story. Because Star Wielder is a story about turning fear into power that features a young pyrophobic Black girl from Detroit named Kiara Kelly. Now, Kiara, as I said, is pyrophobic, which means she has a very intense fear of flames and fire. And one day she develops the ability to wield fire, which is, of course, is a very traumatic experience for her. And so part of her journey is learning to face her fear so she can become her truest and her highest self. Otherwise, she'll risk losing everything and everyone she loves. But this is a very difficult time and difficult thing to do, as you'll learn in the story, because it opens up with a funeral scene because Kiara has lost her grandmother, who is like her mother figure, her maternal figure, someone she's looked up to, a community leader in Detroit, which is where the story is based in, specifically mostly on the west side of Detroit. And so it is she is a pivotal figure in Kiara's life. And so what is Kiara to do as she is going through this traumatic evolution, this traumatic change without this pivotal figure, while also existing in a community that still uplifts and loves her? But it is possible to be lonely, to feel isolation despite being surrounded by love. And that is something that I want to explore as a part of her journey of self-acceptance, of self-empowerment in this story.
I want to touch upon some of the points that you made about some of the plot points. Let's bring up Dr. Wizard. Can you bring up the Kickstarter? The pages from that. There we go. Can you zoom in on that? So the story starts off in Detroit. Now, why Detroit?
Well, Detroit is where I was raised from most or part of my life, and that really had a very impact on me. That's where like a lot of my family is. Of course, part of my family is from the South. Part of my family is in Detroit, from Detroit. My mom was born and raised in Detroit. So there's a lot of history there. I think there's also, I wanted to sort of reframe this story that Detroit is this horrific, terrible place to be that is unworthy and of little value, like every other Black city that has been completely rebranded as this cesspool. I wanted to do my part to help provide a bit of clarity and history on what Detroit is, what currently, what it can be, and all those kinds of things. And so in this version of Detroit, since I mentioned the story is about turning fear into power, we see Detroit's journey from the Detroit Uprising in 1967 to the Burwood Wall, which was a segregation wall that existed in Detroit. Well, it still exists, but it's now no longer a segregation wall. It's been repurposed. But I wanted to show our journey of being able to turn our pain into power through Detroit, which is a majority Black city. And so since the story is about turning fear into power, I wanted people to see that journey also through the city of Detroit as well. And so that's why Detroit, because Detroit is a character. And like every other character in this story will be going through their own journey throughout the series.
Now, this starts out with this funeral of this particular woman. What is the significance of this woman to the main character, Kiara?
Yeah, so the story opens up. Yeah, so the story opens up with this scene, as you can see, where the main character, Kiara, is questioning who she is, who and what she is without her grandmother. So how many of us, maybe can relate to the idea of losing a very significant loved one in our lives, and it has this big hole, creates this big hole, this void, and we lose a part of ourselves. And she's 14, so she's very young. So she doesn't know, and so a lot of her identity was tied into who she was and her grandmother. And her grandmother was a pivotal figure in the Detroit community. She was a social change maker. She was the one you go to that hosts a community garden that helps all the young people in the neighborhood, that everyone knows that was an activist in the community. And so that's who Kiara wants to be. And so when she's having this traumatic supernatural evolution, the only person who really has some of the answers to that is her grandmother. And so when that is taken away from her after she passes in a tragic incident, Kiara is left with all these emotions and this emptiness. And so then the story goes out and breaks out into, as she questions who she is without her grandmother, because her grandmother also instilled in her lessons from her mother, Kiara's mother, who Kiara doesn't know who her mom is. And that's part of the mystery of, her powers and her abilities. And so, but her grandmother knew part of who her mom was. But now that she's gone, Kiara doesn't know. And so in issue 1 of the series, we'll explore those things as we see Kiara's mother, but also we'll see her grandmother's daughter, who has
is that who this girl is? This little girl here?
Yep, Tony, yep. Her grandmother's daughter, who also plays a role in Kiara's legacy as well.
Tony's the one with the glasses or the one with the Afro puffs?
The one with the glasses. Yeah. Okay. And so we'll see, although they're from 2 different eras, just the 1967 and Kiara's from the present day, they still have a connection. And that's another thing of the story too. It's about legacy. as well.
Yeah, it's interesting. You have the story take place during the Detroit uprisings in July of 1967. And as it's going on, you have this scene where you mentioned the Burr wood wall, the wall that segregates Detroit, and how there's like this literal wall going through the most innocuous of things, which is a playground. So you have a black side of the playground, you have a white side of the playground. You've got Tony with her friend. Um, the idea is that some white kids came over to the black playground and messed it up, and they have their own playground on the other side of the wall, which is actually really nice. And
Mm-hmm.
yet they still come over to the black side and destroy their playground.
Mm-hmm.
So she decides, hey, I'm just going to go to the other side then.
Yeah, exactly.
So you see her hop this fence.
Yeah.
You scroll down, Derek. And she runs across these two brothers, the Shepherd brothers. One is kind of the older boy is a blatant white supremacist racist, and the younger one is actually Tony's friend. Why don't you talk about this dynamic for us?
Well, I want to mention that this is her former friend, and so there's a bit of dynamic here that where Jacob Jacob is the main antagonist of the story. But before we get to his where he is Kiara's enemy and all that other stuff, I want to explore his why. If Kiara's journey in this story is about turning fear into power as a lesson, Jacob's journey is a warning. And so we know when it comes to whiteness and white supremacy, how it's very invasive. And so I wanted to explore how that maybe can start it even from a young age. And how despite maybe enduring similar circumstances of grief and loss, Jacob and Kiara, they both pursue different paths. If, for example, Kiara decides to turn her grief and loss into, her idea is turning her grief and loss into strength. Jacob, through his loss, through what he loses, it corrupts him. He falls into it's a sense of dissension we'll begin to find, but we want to get him to that point first. And so before we get there, we have to explore this dynamic as to this conflict that he has. So he's not a straight up although he's problematic. I want to make that very clear. He's problematic, but he's conflicted. He's just a kid. He's his brother's early 20s, trying to figure out. They're both homeless, and that's all he has. Parents kicked him out. And he listens to his brother. His brother is his person, and that he rides by his word because he trusts him no matter what. And so he wrestles with the idea: should I listen to my brother who I love and care about, who has protected and provided for me so much, or should I lean into what I feel like I'm feeling inside of me may not be right, or things that may not be right? And so we see what decisions he makes along the way that gets him to a certain point.
Now, Tony ain't no punk.
No, she's not.
She's immediately challenging these two brothers about their actions. That she assumes they're the ones who messed up the playground. They're basically saying, "Hey, get out of our playground. Go to your other side of other side of the tracks." Right. She's like, "No, I'm not going anywhere." And scroll down one, Derek. She's like, "What are you gonna do?" "Oh, I'm gonna stop you." He's like, "No, you're not." She knocks the dude out. She takes on both brothers. Both brothers. Knocks them both down.
Because Tony in this moment is like, listen, she tried to reason with Jacob for a moment. She said, "This isn't you. We were friends." But then he pushed her. She's like, nah. See, I can allow that. And then we have this moment here. And then, of course, his brother steps in and, and she's like, oops, and she trips him, and that's it. And then she runs, and that's it. And so it's this whole interaction that really starts a much bigger issue that we'll see later on in the story, a bit later on, not too far, and actually after this page, is we get into the uprising. And so we plant this. What?
I was going to say, what I also found powerful about this scene, if you scroll back one, the hesitance you see on Jacob's face, he seems very ambivalent about wanting to go up against his former friend Tony. You really see you could feel the emotions and how conflicted he was between what his brother's telling him he needs to do and what his feelings are, what he wants to do, because this girl was his friend in the past. And it's kind of the nurture versus nature question, right? You know, his nature is to be friends with Tony, but he's being nurtured by his brother to hate Tony.
Nurtured, groomed, if you will. If you want to get more.
Yeah, groomed to hate Tony. So it's funny that you mentioned, because I didn't know that he's ultimately going to be the antagonist in the story, that you kind of see sort of the origins of him. That I think makes for a more powerful and compelling antagonist later on, because you see the journey that went from A to C.
Exactly.
So I thought that was dope.
Yeah.
Scroll down to Derek. So she ultimately knocks both boys down and bounces. Go down one more. And then we're seeing the other side of the uprising occurring. Why don't you talk about this scene, what's going on here, and who these characters are?
Absolutely. So for those of you who don't know, the Detroit 67 Uprising was an event that happened in Detroit, on the west side of Detroit, specifically it originated off of 12th and Claremont, where it was, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, something that happened with the police altercation, and then it kicked off the whole thing. There was already a lot of social unrest. People were already feeling uneasy based off of just a lot of racial tension in the area, and then things just popped off. And then from there, the uprising lasted 5 days. And so in this scene specifically, I wanted to show Tony and her mother, who is Kiara's grandmother, but this is a younger version of her because we're, back in time. We see that they are, we see their side of it, the other side of things, as they are, doing their best to survive during this time, while all this chaos and turmoil and despair is around them. And you can see here, even in the colors, for example, like I wanted to make sure that the pages here were conveyed. I try not to be always literal in my coloring, because I feel like there's emotion in color. And so the reds and the blues, similar to the initial pages, represent, the anger that people are feeling, the passion, the heightened emotions of this time. And so, and even here we see a very emotional moment between Tony and her mother, where Tony is still being outspoken. She's like, listen, I'm too tired to fight. And I don't have, as they're being chased by the Shepherd brothers, who is Jacob, Jacob and his brother Kyle being the police officer, as you mentioned earlier, and also just they're being chased by them. And then so Curly, Roxy, which is Tony's mother's name and Kiara's grandmother's name here, she's telling Tony here, you don't have to fight. Let me do the fighting. We're trying to survive. We need to get through this. I need you to understand. I need you to understand that this is very serious, because Tony doesn't quite understand the severity of the situation, entirely. She just wants to, do what she can to help, but her mother's trying to protect her. So that really explains this scene here, as it opens up the door to other important events that are going to.
Yeah, I mean, it was cool because you have this moment where they're contemplating going to the shelter, and it's like, the shelter's not safe.
Yeah.
I mean, you in that moment, you were really, as a reader, feeling the emotions of what they're going through. Imagine the whole city's on fire. People are going crazy in the streets. And you would think, particularly if you're homeless or, displaced, a shelter's your immediate reaction. Like, let's go seek shelter. And like, even the shelters are not safe. You have nowhere to turn.
That's what she says.
You immediately feel the level of desperation. It's only the two of them. As a parent myself, I'm thinking, what would I do in that situation? If my child and I are out on the streets and the streets are going crazy, you can't go home, you can't go to a shelter. You can't trust the police, because the police are likely do worse things to you than anyone who's in the uprising.
They're actively chasing you at the same time.
They're actively trying to snatch you out. Yeah. You have literally no one to turn to. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And you depicted it well. I mean, you shared then the colors, man. You mentioned the colors. You're beyond your one of the first things that drew me to you was your art. Um, your use of colors is just crazy. Um, the blending and the moods, the your ability to emote through color is absolutely brilliant.
Thank you.
You got this one page here where you've got the it's nighttime, so you've got the cool blues and purples, but then you've got the flames, and you can feel the heat because this is July 1967. You can
Mm-hmm.
feel the heat by having these reds in the scene as well, and it adds to the
Intensity and
intensity of the moment. You
yeah,
know, with these flares of red.
yeah,
So brilliant art, man.
yeah,
Brilliant story. Let me rephrase that. Brilliant storytelling.
yeah. Thank
Brilliant storytelling. Next, let's go to the next one, Derek.
you.
So
Yeah.
tell us what's going on here.
And so here, and I think it's the fourth page, or not fourth page, maybe the sixth page. Here we are getting close as we see Kyle, Jacob, the Shepherd brothers, and the police. Which again, Kyle is a police officer. Is they're looking for Tony and they're looking for Roxy, and so. And as you see in the last panel, they've been found. And so we'll see what happens later, not in this preview, what happens once they've been found. And so this also leads up to the introduction, as we see in the next page, of the more supernatural element of the story, which we'll get into.
All right. You were kind of underselling this next page.
Okay.
This
So
is a comic book, so there's a level of the speculative fiction involved. Um, well, there's mention earlier on in the story, in the very beginning, about how she has a strong bloodline.
yeah, yeah.
Um, she has powers.
Hmm.
Can you talk about her power set and who this character? Let's start with who this character is.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is Kiara's mother. We'll see, the events leading up to Kiara's birth later on, why, she was born, why does she need to exist, all those kinds of things. But this is Kiara's mother. And as we enter the story, she is also enduring her own hardship. She is escaping her own form of oppression and turmoil. She is a princess. She is a spirit wielding princess, meaning she can wield spirits and things of that sort. And so don't want to get too much into her other abilities just yet, but that's really the main component of her ability there. But she's a spirit wielder, and so part of her ability is to like I said, spirits. And so she has this powerful crystal that she stole from her mother, who is a tyrannical an empress on her world. And her mother is someone who's exploited and abused her, and she is someone she has tried to defeat, but Kishana, which is her name, has always failed at trying to defeat her mother, because Kishana is normally fearless, and the only person she fears is her mother, and that's how formidable her mother is. And so Kishana takes this crystal, this powerful, mysterious crystal that her mother uses and is trying to use to destroy and do all this kind of other things, and cause harm, and she steals it away, and she uses it to escape herself, to escape her own abuse, to escape her own harm. But yet, despite feeling this way, she feels shame, she feels guilt for leaving her people behind, for leaving the duties that she left behind, for leaving friends behind. And so she's feeling that, but she still desires her freedom so much because she hasn't felt that, because she's been under her mother's thumb for so long. And so this story, again, explores that as well. And so this is Kishana's journey about turning her own pain, her own fear into power. And so we'll see that explored as this story continues. So on this page, you see the crystal, and you'll find as when the story comes out, the crystal is a very important part of Kiara's journey, of the story of Detroit. It begins to crack. And what happens when it cracks? Well, we'll see. And so you see on the next page that when she uses it to enter, she uses the crystal to enter Detroit. I also want to mention that, you know, the crystal is giving her, you know, partially giving her some of these abilities, with the ability to create these portals. And so there's also a sense of mystery that she's not understanding how she's doing this as well. And so we'll explore that a bit later on. But yeah, so there's a bit of mystery here when it comes to this supernatural element of this princess who is otherwise very formidable and powerful, who's running away from oppression of her own, who feels guilt and shame for running away from her responsibilities, for choosing in some ways, feel like she shows herself over her friends. And so we'll find that in the story, part of her journey is learning is feeling like she has to reconcile. She has to fix this. You know, she has to find a way to make this right, even though she did run away.
All right, Derek, go to the next page if you would. All right, so let's talk about your journey in creating this character.
Yeah.
One of the things I found interesting was what you kept mentioning, turning fear into power. You talked about how some of the inspiration came from your own struggle with mental wellness, you know, and health. That's a particularly important issue, particularly in our community. Mental health is something that is not really fully embraced in the Black community, particularly for Black men.
Okay.
So the idea that you're doing a story in which someone struggling with, you know, various issues manages to turn that around and put a positive spin on it, to gain power from what was considered a weakness and gain power from that, I think is a significant story. Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. So this journey, it began. So this is what I tell people: do not throw out your fan art. You know, if you create an original character, even if it was from years ago, don't save it, because it might come in handy later. You might revisit it 10 years from now and be like, listen, oh wow, that was actually a nice design. I have characters that I drew when I was a kid that I redrew. And I'm like, this is great. Well, so keep them. I'm glad my mom kept all my old artwork too. So that being said, this started off as
message.
Oh, what happened?
I was saying it's a message. You put a very good message, which is don't throw out your fan art as a creator.
Yeah. No. Okay, so listen, like, yeah, don't throw out your fan art. But it started in 2017. I did this character. It was called, her name was Kiara J. She was called the Star Wielder. I said, okay, you know, it's kind of cool. She had like these big bulky gauntlet gloves, and she was wielding literal stars, and she had this whole thing. And then, okay, I left it alone, and you know, and then I picked it up sometime later, like back in 2023. I was looking for a story idea when I said, you know, when I felt I was ready to tell my story. And so I revisited Kiara, and I came across, because Facebook reminded me I did this when a whole throwback Facebook thing, Facebook memories thing. And then I said, you know, let me revisit this character. So I revisited it, and I did different iterations of the character, of the design, until I got to this version of the design back in 2023, where I used that to, and that's where, around that time, that's where I did I wrote my first story for Star Wielder. It was 10 pages. And so it was 10 pages. It was for an anthology series called We Belong. It was great. And then moving forward to today, this is what Kiara looks like now. She, as you can see, she maintained like the big hair. If you scroll down a bit, like she maintained like the big hair, and you know, the similar sense of style and all that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, it really was just about being consistent, being dedicated. And so for those of you who are interested in telling your own story, please tell it. And if you're questioning why you, I'm going to ask you this: why not you? Okay. And I said this before in another interview that I did. Why not you? Because it's so important to, you know, to get your story out there, because we need more original stories, original content, original storytelling. So yeah, that's really the journey of Star Wielder. It's been about 3 years. The story itself, as we have it right now, it's been about 3 years in the making. As I said earlier, it was a graphic novel. Eventually it became a comic series. As I said, the graphic novel was too big for me right now, especially with this being my debut sort of venture in the comic book medium. So yeah.
We have some original art that you're going to have as part of your Kickstarter project. Let's bring that up, Dr. Wiz. Let's go to the other page that you had there, Derek.
Yeah.
So here's the main cover, correct?
Yes, this is the main cover, cover A for the series, or for the book, issue 1 of the book. And next to it is a gold foil print. So I do sell, I specialize in creating foil accent prints with my art, or spot foil prints. And so as you can see here on the right hand, the cover is, this is an 11x17 foil print, gold foil print that is adorned and makes the foil accents the flames and the fire. And this is one of the rewards on the Kickstarter campaign. And it is limited edition, so there's only a certain amount of copies available for this.
Hey, Derek, when you get a chance, can you please find the foil print of Nubia? There's like a video on it on the Kickstarter. If you can bring that up, that'd be dope.
Oh, that would be on the updates. Yes, be on the updates.
Yeah, I think I want to show that. Let's go to this next page. Here's another. If any of you have not seen his foil work, it's outstanding. If he's releasing that as covers or art, trust me, you're getting your money's worth when you see the foil work that this brother does.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Tell us about this page.
And this one was this is cover B, but also this is the print for cover D, the gold foil print. As you can see, the gold is very nice and luminous, almost glowing in this light. And if you pick this up, it'll be doing the same in your home. So like, just imagine this, like the light. When I wish I had like it on me right now, like the light reflecting it and things like that. But oh man, I really wish I did have it. But no, it's great. It's great. And this is cover C, and the print for cover C. Again, the gold foil. We just in gold right now. We're in our golden era at this moment. Okay. Yeah. So these are all featuring Kiara here, all adorned in gold foil, all 11x17 inches. And the paper is very nice quality. It's nice and thick cardstock paper here. So
yeah. All right, let me scroll down to these here. I think this is some of the art that really caught my attention that you were doing a few years ago when you were doing these various just random superheroes that you release on social media. Was that intentional, or just you putting out art just for putting out art?
I was just putting out art. Which one? The Storm of Nubia?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just putting out art. Honestly, I was just having fun.
Yeah, I'm happy you were able to capitalize on that, man, because that I was serious when I said I was actually tagging Marvel and DC with your art and saying, how do you not hire this dude? This is crazy.
I appreciate that, Paul. I really do.
Here we stand, millions emancipated lights. Tell me about this picture on the right.
So this is actually a mural that I did here in Michigan. It is here in Mount Clemens, hanging on the side on a wall at an art center called the Anton Art Center. I collaborated with a famous poet here by the name of Jessica Kara Moore. And so yeah, the haiku says, "Here we stand, millions of emancipated lights showing us the way." And this represents just this little black girl who is holding her light her power. Again, what's the thing with Star Wielder? I'm just in my bag in that area. I'm just about empowering, just especially youth, especially Black people. Just but in this case, I wanted to show the origins and the ties between, for example, the struggles of the indigenous people here in America, and also just through the queer struggle, through the trans struggle, through the feature of Marsha P. Johnson. You have Toni Morrison in the right part there. In the center, you got the bloody white hands. You got the church in the middle of the center, because we know the role the church has in all of this and spreading violence and white supremacy that should be held to account. And then you have the monarch butterflies that represents ancestors and just in the past and legacy and things of that sort.
So much crazy imagery, man. Here's your guy Superman, who started your journey into comics.
Mm-hmm.
The storm is incredible.
What do you say?
I said this storm picture is incredible.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
That should literally be. I mean, there's a storm series going on right now. This should literally be one of the variant covers.
Hey, I tried reaching out to him. I did my part, but I'm not going to waste time, going spaces where I'm not wanted or where I feel like I'm not.
You're doing it the right way. You're focusing on your own stuff.
Yeah.
Focusing on your own IP is the highest priority for any creator right now.
It should be. Oh, yeah, especially now.
Yeah. But it's still cool to see you do these other characters, man.
Yeah. It's nice to draw them. Yeah.
Look at the lightning bolts, man. It just pops off the page.
Let me see if I can find.
This was one of my favorite pieces by you. This one with Storm with the black power.
Mm-hmm.
That is literally that is one of the first things I remember seeing by you.
So let me just show you. I got a foil.
Oh, there you go. Check it out here in foil.
Let me see if I can. Okay, because it's like, oh, there we go. You got it. Okay, you got it. Okay, never mind. Okay, cool. There we go.
There's another one with Nubia. Were you able to find that, Derek? There was one that was just Nubia on it with a sword.
Oh, it's down a little further down. It's the last one, I think.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah. So, by the way, if anyone pledges $100 or more to the campaign, I will give you one of these foil prints on the house with your pledge.
That's what's up.
Just let me know. Just let me know if just let me know, I can, that you pledge, DM me your pledge, and then that you want to print. Let me know which print you want. You can go on the updates on the campaign, and you can see which one you're looking for, which one resonates with you, and let me know.
That's crazy. Crazy good, man. The Nubia is outstanding.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Let me ask anyone in the chat, has anybody seen a better version of Nubia than this? I challenge you.
Listen, that's actually my most popular piece. When I sell, I sell a lot of, when I do cons and stuff, that's actually my number one selling piece next to the Black Power Storm.
Yeah. Yeah. If there are two pieces that I need, it would be the Black Power Storm and this one.
Okay.
I need these in my collection, man. That's absolutely beautiful.
Appreciate that.
All right, let's go back to your Kickstarter. Here's the other stuff you had here. What is this? That's Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm. I was inspired by the absolute Wonder Woman version a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the fur coat. It's dope.
Thank you.
All right, man. Why don't you tell us where people can support your Kickstarter?
Yeah. So if you go on my social medias, I'll type it in the chat here.
You don't have to. Derek's got you covered, man. He's already
appreciate
typed.
that. Thank you. I guess I'm too quick.
You would Kickstarter on the screen, Derek, if you would.
appreciate that. So I on Blue Sky, on Twitter, on Instagram, and on TikTok, it's I'm J Hero. I am JAYHERO. And my Kickstarter will be in the bio and under all those things. Also on my website at HeroNationStudio.com.
All right. How far along are we in the Kickstarter right now? Let's see. As of right now, you need $15,000. You're at 3122. How many days left? There are 23 days
left. Yep.
All right. So you're like, I can't do math. Is that like
you're
a quarter?
21% there.
How much percent?
21%.
21%.
Yeah. That's not me knowing it, because that's Kickstarter having me data to tell me. I don't know math like that too.
One of the things that you did that I thought was interesting, Derek, you actually gave people the breakdown as to the costs, the estimated breakdown of the costs. Derek, yes. I think he's trying to find it right now.
Yep, it's the budget at the very end. Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Yep.
You actually went into the budget and showed people this. This isn't. I'm not just pocketing this money,
right? And
have a finished book somewhere. You're actually showing people this is what's needed to finish the book. This is how many pages we need, etc.
Yep.
What inspired you to do this? Because I don't often see this in a Kickstarter.
So first of all, I don't usually someone had to sit me down and say, Jay, you're doing a lot of work. And because I was struggling to eat, struggling to pay rent, struggling to pay my meds, struggling to get by in general. And I'm doing so much work trying to make this dream happen. And I realized that I'm not paying myself or giving myself enough of what I am worth, what I value, what I am valued. And so I had to sit down and ask myself, if I want to make this happen, I have to get people who want to believe and invest in this dream with me, and then be committed and accountable to making sure that it comes to fruition. So all of this is taking into consideration what is going into, from the lettering to the penciling, coloring, writing, editing, all that stuff for the script, is going into what it is for the process. And this is even me trying to be as reasonable as possible, because I tend to undermine myself a lot. I even have someone say to me, you need to go fix your prices because they're too low in some areas. And so I have that happen often. Not
undermining, undervaluing.
Yeah. And so I want to make sure that also this transparency is super important as a part of the process as well, because people don't often understand what goes into the amount of work that we do. And even still, I feel like I did the best I could to budget, but I might still be taking some money out of my my budget for me. But that's totally fine. I want to do the best I can and get this story out there. I feel like I was able to, create a budget that was appropriate for that, considering where I am in the process.
If you have found what I've shown you impressive, chat, support the brother, support this campaign.
Yeah.
Not only you get a dope book, you can get some dope art and help support a worthy cause, a book that is trying to move the needle in comics.
Yeah.
With an original story, original character, an original mythos that's done with a purpose and with intent. This is the type of endeavor we should all be supporting. Buy one less or a couple less variant covers from Marvel and DC and support something that's worthwhile, which is this. Jay, we really appreciate you being on the show, man. Anything we can do to help to get you to reach this goal and this Kickstarter, we'd be more than willing to do. We have a tradition here at Black Comic Lords that when you interview with us, we consider you family. So if you don't mind, I'd like you to take a look at the screen and say your name and say, I am a Black Comic Lord.
I am a Black Comic Lord.
Nah, man, you didn't do that right. You got to say who you are.
Oh, I'm Jay. Oh.
Let's try it again. Say your name, then say.
Okay, gotcha. I'm J Hero, and I am a Black Comic Lord.
There you go.
There we go.
There you go. Welcome to the squad. Welcome
Appreciate that. Appreciate that.
Oh, we had some. Oh man, I just jumped ahead. We had a couple questions here.
Oh, okay.
Black Spider asked, "Nice cover. When did this book come out?" Oh, it's on Kickstarter, man. You need to support the Kickstarter so it will come out. And you said there's an estimate of it coming out in February or March of next year.
So it's going to be out February, or I'm sorry, March, or let me make sure I got the right. March or May of next year, but I'm trying to get it out earlier. So I'm shooting for that because there's the production process. I want to make sure I take a little break this year as well because it's been a lot of work getting to this point. But I'm shooting for March for late winter, early spring of next year.
Comment from Duran Flood. Peace, Jay. Proud of you. Happy to back your project.
Hey, Duran. He was here. Okay, cool.
Do you know Duran? He's got Atlantic Comic Con in August and the end of this month. Hey, Flood. He could use a flight and a hotel room to come join the con. I hear he's available.
Well, he oh God.
Help your brother out. All right. I think that was all the questions we had. All right, man. So thank you for joining us. We appreciate you, man. Come back anytime. I want you to specifically to come back when the book is done so we can talk about it.
Absolutely. Excited for that.
All right.
All right. Thank y'all.
All right. Peace, y'all. Black Comic Lords. We got you.